Hello, everyone. Rachel Freeman Sowers here, and welcome to the Rachel Freeman Sowers live show. I am so excited to be here today and to bring my guest because this guest is very close to my heart and special and my buddy for sure. Before we get started, what I would love to hear from each one of you is tell me where you are joining from. Let me know where you're joining. And if you have attempted to find a peak performance partner or an accountability partner in the past, and let me know whether you've been successful at that or not. Tonight is going to be fun and it's going to be informational. And the reason I decided to bring this topic onto the Rachel Freeman Sowers live show is because once I had found an accountability partner that I could really move my business forward with and get some shiz done, this was when I really was able to fully expand into my business, fully expand into my skills and my talents, and have that extra little bit of boost of faith. So don't forget to let us know where you are joining us from tonight. Also, if there is a little bit of lag in the video, please be patient with us. We've been testing it out a little bit, but my accountability peak performance partner is joining us from somewhere else besides the United States. I'm not going to give away yet, even though I really want to give away. But so if we have that lag, just stay with us and we'll just keep moving forward. All right. So tonight's topic, like I said, how to find a peak performance partner / accountability partner and get some shiz done. And I guess I'm just gonna bring him on right now. So I would love to introduce to you my accountability peak performance partner, Eric Z. Johnson. Welcome, buddy.
Hey, it's great to see you.
So it's so funny because when we started talking about this episode of the Rachel Freeman Sowers live show, it was kind of like, what do we want to bring to the table here? Because now more than ever, with everything that's been going on, it helps to have support, right?
Absolutely.
So we have a little bit of delay, so I just want to let you know that, Eric, as we're going through here. If you're joining us, make sure to tell us where you're joining us from. And I guess we should just start from the beginning. And let me ask you first, why were you looking for a peak performance partner?
Yeah, I think, in the first place is, many of us entrepreneurs were working from home and everything, and we have tons of great resources, but, and maybe we have great family, great friend, great business colleagues, but at the end of the day, it's kind of rare to have someone who is truly in your corner on a consistent basis. And for me, I felt like there's so many of these key ingredients that are like just really ripe and perfect, but I was trying to get down to what's really missing. And one is I just felt alone. Like, some people knew, of course, what I was doing in my business and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, I felt like there's no one who's really in my corner every single week or every single day. And that is what I felt like for me was like this big missing piece.
So that is absolutely a very common thing that was happening for me too. The other thing is that I felt like when I would find somebody, I would give them always way more support. Like I would end up becoming just the leader of it. And that was my fault. It had nothing to do with other people. And so when I was looking, I was like, I need someone that we can work together and truly be partners in this. And to where I can be honest with them and I can move forward with them and just have really great discussions. Before we keep going though, we have some differences. And so I want to make sure that you tell everyone what you do.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I have a social media marketing business. So I've been helping getting entrepreneurs for over 8 years now with visibility, having sales conversations, everything from, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. And then a newer side of the business since about 3.5 years has been a digital course side. And 2 courses there. One is how you create conversational referrals using only phone and email. And the other is how do you actually get on LinkedIn and start relationships that actually lead to sales.
So I think this is a commonality, but it's also one of the things that has made our relationship work so well. You have both like the right and left brain sides for sure. And you bounce back and forth.
Right.
And I'm the same way. Right. And so when I'm maybe bouncing in a more emotional way, you can help in a more technical or logical way. And we do that for each other. I'm giving away like ahead of time. I got to slow myself. How did we meet? How did we meet?
Yeah, we met in at a conference in January 2019. And of course, I think there was probably like 20 seconds right before everyone's butt's supposed to be in the seat. And I totally remember everything, like where we were in the room, all that stuff. And we just had this really super short exchange. But even in that millisecond, I was thinking, this lady is just larger than life, like this crazy, massive, wild personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like,
I remember I was one of the only people, like participants up dancing with like the staff or whatever that were working, that event. And I also remember where we met in like towards that middle of the room, towards, I think it was the left side if you're looking towards the stage, right. And we were just right there. And I was just like, there's something about this guy. But I'm not sure what it is. So I just decided, because I went to that event specifically to meet people, to meet people that could match me, to meet people that I could, now I don't want to say necessarily collaborate with, but get to know and build relationships. And you are one of 2 people from that event that have become some of my best business colleagues and best friends. Oh. So I was so glad. But that isn't where we decided to become accountability partners.
Right. Yeah, we just met there. And I want to say maybe 6 or 7 months later, in a Facebook group, I posted, I'm looking for an accountability partner, because I just felt like it was missing. It was just something that was huge and missing, And so I think you may have been the only person to respond. I'm sure lots of other people saw it. But yeah, you responded, and I'll let you take it from here.
Well, so this Facebook group has thousands and thousands of people in it.
Absolutely.
And again, I guess that goes back to why I was searching for someone. I didn't want to be 1,000.
Exactly.
That's not how I want my clients to feel, and that's not how I want to feel.
Right.
So here we are in this Facebook group, countries away. Right? We live in the same country even. Exactly. And we just happen in synchronicity to be looking at the Facebook group. But because there's thousands of people in there, the post gets lost really quick. Right. Like if you're in there for 5 minutes, you can have 100 posts and your post is lost.
Totally.
So I saw it and I was like, something is telling me to respond. Something is telling me to respond. So I was like, hey, do you want to get on? I can't remember exactly what I said, but hey, do you want to meet up and see if it would be a good fit?
Right.
So when that happened, what was kind of your feeling or response to my response to your post?
Well, I thought it was great because from your photo, I did remember that we had met in person, which was great because it was a room with maybe 200 people or so. And, from there, I want to say we got on the Zoom call, and really, I might be jumping ahead, but something that I was looking for was a particular type of person, a particular type of expertise, someone who had some, what would you call it? Who didn't have some newness or amateur hour. No, there's nothing wrong with that, of course, but I was wanting someone, who wasn't light years ahead of me, but who wasn't also starting. So I was looking for that fit. And then probably the biggest thing was actually just the energy. Like, how does it feel? How does this call feel? How does it feel talking with Rachel? Do I, what's my brain telling me? What's my heart telling me? Things like that.
I remember too, in that first conversation, the questions that we asked each other were very similar. It's like where are you at in your emotional intelligence? Where are you at in your business? We didn't have to, either one of us didn't have to be making millions. But
Right.
what we knew is that we wanted someone that was ambitious and driven. And that was important to me because I didn't want to constantly be encouraging someone and then having to just encourage myself. And so, I think we asked questions like, how do you feel about this? Or what didn't work before? Like
Right.
what didn't work in past relationships?
Exactly.
And how often do we want to meet? What do we want this to look like? And specifically, which no one will be surprised when I say this, but how do we want it to feel? How do we want it to feel? Really, like, and then we committed, I think we committed for like 90 days.
Right.
I never thought about the 90 days.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you what I was thinking. I was thinking, if this is not a good fit after we get into it, I want an easy out and I want to give you an easy out. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's totally the reason why I said that. And, really there's, like I'm in Mexico, you're in California. Before I moved here, all I had was assumptions of what it would be like, but I didn't know the reality of what it would be like living here, right? The two very different things. And so some of that was showing up when, in this 90 days, like from our Zoom call, I think we're a really good connection here, really good fit for each other. But until we actually started doing that week out and really texting at least 5 days a week, it all lived in assumption land. But then it was we got to see how was it on the field of life, or how was it in the arena, any type of metaphor, but that was why with the 90 days, and really part of that, I think too, was to create freedom for each other. Like that there's no love lost or anything, because even with different service providers or whoever, sometimes there's nothing wrong, but it's just not the right fit. There's something, maybe with the energy or how the person feels, that's going on behind the scenes. So that's totally why that came to mind for me.
Well, and I don't mind the 90 days. I just feel like we really asked some deeper questions. And this is jumping ahead. Like one of our top tips, I am for sure, is asking those vulnerable and raw questions to the person and the other person answering honestly. Like exactly. You had nothing we had just met each other. So obviously we're not streaming out our hearts to each other in the first call, but it was about how we wanted to communicate and what really was important to us. What were we looking for from the other person? So we set those, I don't want to say expectations, but we set those things first.
We did. Yeah.
Okay. So we have common goals, but we have very different personalities.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about, like, after we got started, what have you been able to accomplish in your business since we've been Peak Performance partners?
Sure. Goodness, that's a year and a half now. So I think probably one of the first results, if you will, was there was a stronger sense of peace of mind. And there was that feeling of someone's really in this with me now, because for a year and a half, every week we've known each other's goals, the top goals, right? And we even have this stuff noted from the very first, I could tell you week number 1 what your goals were, right?
Yeah.
So I think, that's one of the major things that comes to mind with it.
I think how we communicate too is similar, but it's also different. And, you had mentioned earlier, we use WhatsApp to communicate, and we literally talk to each other. We talk to each other at least once a day. Sometimes on Saturdays and Sundays, we won't. But even on some Saturdays and Sundays, like we just say, hey, this was my win, or let me know how you're doing, or, You went to the beach recently and I asked you to send me some pictures. Like
Right.
our relationship is both peak performance, but it's both familial. Like I
Yeah.
feel like you're my family.
Right. Yeah. Same here. And I think the powerful thing about it has been, we recognize that this is a whole life experience. So for me to think that other things in my life don't affect me, my energy, or my business is ridiculous. So that was a huge win for us. It wasn't just you have 5 goals. Did you do your goals? Why not? What get in the way? Blah, 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 blah. It was really, is something going on personally or something going on with your health? Because it's that constant navigating all the stuff from emotions, finances to health of your family and friends, your own health, so many different variables. So to be able to honor each other and support each other in our unique journeys, I think that's been one of the biggest wins. It's not, when I go to bed, I'm not thinking Rachel only cares about my business or she only wants me to make money. It's Rachel wants me to have an incredible life and incredible business. So there's just a sense of, someone's with me here.
Well, it's really about no judgment and no judgment of ourselves with ourselves when we're working together.
Right.
Like this is the juicy stuff too. And that's why I put this banner up here, because this is where things get really real. There are times Eric would have clients signing up and signing up and signing up, and I would have nobody. And I'd be like, what the F is going on? And I started judging myself. And then Eric could come in and be like, hey, we're in this together. So it really was truly this merging of, for the first time, finding someone, or one of the first times finding someone that was truly in your corner no matter what. Like it was almost like I didn't have to worry about telling you my wins. And you've had some wins too, and you don't have to worry about that. The other thing too, like we do create a holistic approach and we focus on business, but we realize if we're not healthy, if we're not okay within ourselves first, we can't do any business.
Exactly.
Right? We don't show up the way that we want.
Right.
And there were times when I was sick and Eric would find out a little bit about, my stomach. If you can read between the lines, like sure. I wasn't doing good. I was like, buddy, I'm shitting my brains out. I mean, like, I can't focus. I can't concentrate. I mean, like we talk about those things, but what I wanted to ask you is, was there ever a time during the last 1.5 years and you're just like, I can't stand Rachel. Like, I can't talk to her right now. And maybe it's not that extreme.
Yeah, I don't know if I've had that experience, but there are definitely times where maybe I wanted to have my own little pity party, or if your business was going great and I feel like I'm over here just twiddling my thumbs and, that sort of stuff. I think there was times when I would allow self-judgment to come into place, or maybe it was I don't even know what the word would be, but it was just like that. Yeah, things are great. So good for you. La, la, la. But, sort of just a passing mood or something, if you will, or a little bit of a funk, that sort of stuff. And I think overall, though, the great thing has been just staying committed to each other and really recognizing things like, I feel crappy today. Okay. What can you do? You've acknowledged you feel crappy. Life goes on. It's not stopping. What can you do? What action can you take?
And
but
really,
there's never been
Go ahead.
There's never been a point where it was like, Rachel again. But like I said, there were those parts of just self-consciousness, or it could have just been simply a thing where you were a mirror and it's like, you know what, Rachel is committed to her business today and I am clearly not. And I think it's pretty good to look in the mirror like that, to see those things, to recognize them.
I think it's good too, because I've had moments too, and it's not like I don't ever want to talk to Eric again. That, like, those moments have never happened to me. But there were some moments when I was like, I don't know if I have the energy for this. And I had to keep showing up, and I had to trust that whatever we talked about or whatever happened in our meeting or our session, like our goal meeting, that we would be able to just meet each other where we're at and not try to fix each other.
Yes.
There's sometimes I would ask you, like, how can I support you? This is another tip. We're going way ahead, but how can I support you is one of the number one questions we ask each other. If Eric texts me and says, I'm really struggling today, instead of just jumping always into advice, what can I do to support you? What do you need from me? And most of the time, honestly, the answer is, I just need to know you're here.
Right.
We don't try and solve each other's problems, honestly, unless we're asking.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's a great thing because I know in the past with a small handful of people, it kind of feels like, okay, I don't want to be your pet project. I don't want to feel like just something you're trying to assemble or something. You know what I mean? And so being able to navigate that well together, I think has definitely fueled us and empowered us. And even the things where, like if one of us says, I think I just need to take a nap, it's not like, really, you really need to be working on your business. Give me a break. You're going to take a nap. Of course, I'm like, I'm in Mexico. I need a siesta, right? But
I need to move to Mexico.
But, like you said, there's never been that judgment. It's like, yes, sometimes the best thing you can do for your business is take a nap, is go walk the dog, is go walk around the neighborhood, or get a haircut, or just does whatever it takes, you know what I mean? So that's been very liberating to know that there's almost like this, I'm just here to support you in the way that you need. And not to throw a different topic in, but there's kind of the ebb and flow of being able to ask probing questions when it's time. Like, is that everything? Or is there anything you're not telling me right now? Or is there anything going on beneath the surface? You know what I mean? But it never feels like, actually, oh my God. I used to work with someone years ago, and this person would come up to you and go, how are you? No, really, how are you? And it was just like this, like, am I supposed to like bust into tears and like tell you my life is horrible or what's going on? You know what I mean? So for there to be none of that, what I would call emotional funkiness or, not really, I'm not trying to like get something from you. I'm not trying to give something so I feel a certain way. To have, I would say 0% of that emotional funkiness, dysfunction, whatever it's called, to have none of that, just to have clarity and health, authenticity, transparency, that really, I think, fuels us and energizes us like nothing else. Like even, I think it was this past Monday. So I'd been at the beach for 3 days, right? I hadn't even been on, like, I had not looked at Facebook. I think I posted some pictures, but not really looked at anything, not looked at the news. And of course, came back Monday and saw all this news and got on Facebook, and it felt like I was being thrown up on and stuff. And, but after our call on Monday, I think I sent you a message and said, you know what, I feel so energized now. I feel so focused. So just to be able to have that, because some people listening right now, we're not judging you, of course, but we know what it's like going through every single week where you're just giving and you're initiating and you're generating, and no one is coming alongside you saying like, oh, I see your fire here, I'm going to put some wood on it for you. So to be able to fuel someone, to be energized by each other like we have, it's really, truly dynamic. As much as I kind of hate the word game changer, it truly does energize those of us who are working, for ourselves.
Right. And I think that's one of the things, having a peak performance partner or an accountability partner is very much having a coach or a guide. Now, we don't do the same things as coaches or guides necessarily for each other. It's a little bit of a different relationship, but it's the same kind of concept. If we want to up level, we have to up level, and we have to be willing to do those things. And having that support or unconditional support is really helpful. If you told me you wanted to quit your business tomorrow, I would ask you, are you sure? And you said yes. And I would say, okay, like, it's not for me to tell you what to do or what not to do. But what I want to make sure to cover, how many of you I know there's a few of you on here now, and I'm sure that we cannot see everyone. However, I want to know how many of you currently have an accountability partner. If you do, put yes in the comments, whether you're watching this live or recorded. Because what I want to give you, or what we want to make sure to give you, is the framework in which we have been using when we meet. So we don't meet and just shoot the shit. Oh, if you have kids, sorry. So that's not what we do. I mean, we're just not meeting and talking about whatever. So this is kind of how we structure our meetings, and you may want to think about if this fits you too. So that's broken up in 10 and 20-minute increments. So the first 10 minutes is all about expression. How are you doing? What do you want to share? It's been a really great week. About a new car, kind of that expression, or like, hey, it's been a really big struggle. Then the next 10 minutes is really talking about the goals. Like, what are the goals that we had the previous week? And what are the goals that we have for the upcoming week? Then we talk about what is the strategy for us to complete the goals. Now, this is the time that takes the most. And oftentimes we'll run over. Sometimes we won't need to talk about or express very many things. Sometimes the goals are super clear. But during this strategy, what we're doing is, this is how I'm going to reach these goals. These are the 3 top important things, actions, activities that I need to be doing. Then we say, what are the potential obstacles? Well, I get distracted really easy. It's rainy here, so I may not be able to walk the dog. So I may feel like I felt this week. I felt really kind of confined in my office. And it's like, okay, how am I going to overcome those potential obstacles so I can keep moving forward? And if I was feeling down or whatever, I could absolutely WhatsApp Eric and say, hey, I'm just feeling down. And he'd respond saying what? What would you respond?
Yeah, if you said I'm feeling down, I would probably ask you, what can you do to maybe change your physiology? Can you move? Can you take some type of short break? What are the top 3 things you've done in the last month that energized you or renewed you? And really, a lot of times it's not, I don't know the answers. I may offer suggestions, but it's usually just asking you, and you'll bring to the surface something, it's this, or
so keeping it real, he'll send a gift that has the money thing on.
That's right.
Just like dancing gifts, like these silly kind of things that kind of get us out of whatever state. So we do the potential obstacles, and then we ask each other, how can I support you? That is like, I think this is one of the biggest things that makes us successful.
Yes, because what I love about that question, I believe you started that, is that it takes us out of assumptions. I'm not assuming like, oh, I know what kind of support she needs, but you're able to tell me. And that's been brilliant, because sometimes it's things like, I need more text this morning, or I need more messages this week, or I might be really busy this week. So if you're not messaging, don't feel bad, those types of things. But that's been exceptionally helpful, I think. Or there's days where you have private clients. So being able to know what's going on like that has been, I think, once again, it just takes us out of assumption. And what do you need? Okay, now I know what to give you, how to support you.
Right. The assumption and the judgment, I think like that's like the biggest thing. And if we do feel uncomfortable about something, I have asked Eric, hey, when I mentioned this, Did it make you feel uncomfortable? I want you to know you never have to answer any questions. Like, we've dealt with some pretty vulnerable things in each other's lives, and which has been wonderful. But it's also about knowing when to listen, really listen to that other person. So that's how we structure our meetings the majority of the time. I will tell you, it is not 100% of the time, because sometimes we don't want it to be, and that's fine. But that's kind of like, it's always one of us is bringing it back into focus. What are we doing? How can I support you? What do you need this week? And it's nothing like we're taking up each other's major amount of time. Like, we text, but they're very short. It's rarely that they're longer than a minute. And I do voice because I'm a verbal processor. Eric will do a lot of typing and things like that, and more text or sometimes voice. So we use both. All right. So I want to offer any of you that are watching right now, if you have any questions for us, please make sure to drop them in the comments of this video, whether you're watching the live stream or the recording, so that we can make sure to chime in and answer some of your questions or give you suggestions. If you're saying, hey, I just want to talk about how you guys a little bit further, get a little bit in depth, feel free to reach out to either one of us. Rachel Freeman Sowers, of course, but then Eric Z. Johnson, you can find him on Facebook, Instagram. Instagram is probably the best, right?
Sure.
So that's so funny because he loves Instagram. I don't really love Instagram. Like, it's funny. like I love Facebook and YouTube. So I want to end this show, but before I end it, I would love for you to give your number one tip to someone who is looking for a peak performance partner or / accountability partner.
Well, that's a very hard question. The top tip, what comes to mind might be a bit unexpected, but it's that with us, something that I love is that there's no big feeling of like some burden or obligation. There's not this, oh, I have to check in or I have to support. I have to, because obligation, burdensome, all that sort of stuff, that's been present in some of the previous, accountability partners I've had. And so for there to be not something that weighs you down, but rather things, a freedom that lifts you up, you're free to be yourself. You're free to grow. You're free to ask questions. I don't know if that's a very clear top tip, but that would be mine. If you feel like obligation, or this is the best way to word it, if you feel like it's being forced, I think that is the thing to avoid. You can have commitment with a powerful, beautiful energy, but if you feel like you're always forcing something together, I think that ultimately it backfires because it consumes your energy instead of giving you energy.
Yeah. And I think that goes with my number one tip. My number one tip is to trust yourself. If you've been hanging out here very long at Rachel Freeman Sowers, you know that is the number one thing every single one of my clients learns how to do without a shadow of a doubt. They trust themselves. And when you feel the need to reach out, or when you read a post and you're like, something within me is telling me to respond, do that. When you are speaking honestly and openly, it already progresses a peak performance relationship far more than if you waited. So trusting yourself is the number one key. I hope some of you have found this helpful at least, and I'm sure there'll be more views in the future. Again, feel free to reach out to each one of us, and I'll just end it like I always end every single video. I just want to make sure you stay true to yourself, you're kind to others, and always, always, always honor the wise one that is within you. I will see you all later. Thank you so much, my buddy, Eric Z. Johnson, for being here with me today.
You're very welcome. It was a blast, Rachel.
See you later.
All right. See you later.